States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Recording in progress.
Roll call.
Lawson is absent. Buns,
Present?
Reister,
Here.
Sewell,
Here.
Wyatt.
Here.
Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Consent agenda. Motion to approve.
So moved. Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Do you want to make an announcement
yeah.
about that, though?
Yeah, one thing on the consent agenda, trick or treating for Hudson will be October 31st from 5 till 7 p.m. So we've got, which is different than Waterloo Cedar Falls. They're, I think, Saturday?
I think they're the only ones, so I think all the rest of the towns around us are still doing Halloween night, so.
Is that usually the time too? That it usually is?
Yeah.
7?
Yeah, it has been the last 3 or 4 years.
Then also remind everybody the Hudson Chamber chili supper is on Friday, September 30th at the fire station from 4 to 7, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
It's a good time, free food.
Yep. Dr. Gritman, I'll let you address it when we get to that item. We don't have any public hearings tonight, do we?
No, sir.
Okay.
have to do it on memory.
Hudson City Council maintains the right to waive the first and second readings of the ordinances presented and may pass the third and final reading of the same ordinance within the same council meeting. Item A, discussion action to approve the third reading of ordinance 870, ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Hudson, Iowa 2017, as amended by amending provisions pertaining to city or council compensation.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Buns,
Aye.
Sewell,
Aye.
Wyatt,
Aye.
Reister.
No.
We're gonna chat about that later. Just kidding.
So motion will carry 3 to 1.
Item B, discussion action to approve the third reading of ordinance 871, an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Hudson, Iowa 2017 as amended by amending provisions pertaining to mayor compensation.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Wyatt,
Aye.
Reister,
Aye.
Sewell,
Aye.
Buns.
Aye.
All right, motion carried 4-0.
Discussion action to approve the third reading of ordinance 872, an ordinance amending Hudson Municipal Code, Chapter 61, traffic control devices by adding section 61.06, automated traffic enforcement. Before we get a motion, Dr. Gritman has given us notes. You should have it in front of you. Doc, if you want to address it, you can. The one thing I advised him prior to the meeting was that I want to request for any motion for the third that we strike level 1 as far as the fines at the 1 to 5 mile per hour level, because we don't intend to enforce it at 1 to 5. It'll be at the police department's discretion, whether it's a 7, 8, 9, or 10 mile an hour allowance or whatever they see fit. So that hopefully has addressed one of your items within there.
It did.
Okay. Anything else you want to comment on?
Well, yeah, only in the sense that I couldn't believe we couldn't control that in other ways with speed bumps or plates. If that's absolutely impossible, as you're sort of indicating,
Yeah.
you're maybe stuck with that. I just don't like these out-of-state
Sure.
companies. I mean, a lot, the revenue goes there, they got high-paid lobbyists in Des Moines, or a lot of these may have been put out of business, and that came close, except for the lobbying.
So from a revenue standpoint, city gets 70%, they get 30 for the
Oh,
administration.
That's different than
Yeah.
what's known in the past.
Yeah, we get some pretty, 70%, that's fairly strong. At this point, hopefully, it'll improve public safety, and maybe the first year has a lot of revenue from it, and after that it decreases because we've gotten the people to slow down. So that's the whole intent of putting it out
And
there.
are you tied into a 5-year contract, or is that
It's
you can
3,
break
is it 3?
3 years,
Three.
plus we have a 90-day out, I believe, on it,
at any time?
at any
You don't
time.
like them, people don't.
Yep.
And they maintain it, they put it, they install and
Oh,
maintain it
I'm
too.
well aware of that.
Yeah.
That was one of my things to the state. I said, if
Yep.
you wanna do that, people should buy their own camera equipment and
Yep.
do it
Mhm.
themselves, and not be beholden to these Arizona, Michigan, or wherever the other one is.
Yeah, this one's out of Maryland.
Oh, it's how it
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
But we do also have the option, our police department has to review each one before it's actually issued.
I thought that was interesting, that's your police department, because I didn't, from other things, I think those actually go to this, some spin-off of these companies to review by police officer. This is Hudson's own police
Yep.
officer.
Yep.
I thought that was good.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I guess I don't have any more, I just,
Okay, I appreciate the
put
input.
my 2 cents in.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
We have to first and
We don't
second.
have a
We have to
motion.
have a motion.
Now can I get a motion, I would request a motion to approve, subject, but with the elimination of, what is that called, level one?
Yeah,
Level one of the fines listing, subsection one.
hold on, okay, wait a minute. So this is, did we have those levels in the first 2 readings, or is that just?
yeah, I haven't changed anything.
And I just didn't pay attention to them then either, sorry about that, but I would make that motion, but I would with the amendment to remove the level 1 fine.
Do I have a second to that?
Second.
Second.
Third.
Yeah.
Further discussion?
Yeah, I've got a couple questions.
Yep.
When you say strike the first one, then do you bump the fee schedule down so that 6 through 10 is 25? That's
Is the
my
fees-
recommendation.
Is the fee schedule set by that company?
Set by the company, yeah.
I thought they said we could change the fee schedule though.
This fee is gonna still, I think, represent, is gonna mimic the state. We can't, I don't think we set the fine.
Because the fine we set, these are gonna be civil penalties,
Yeah.
not state
This
penalties,
will be
correct?
Under, it's gonna be under the city, so it's gonna, in which the city mimics the state.
Right,
So like when I speed in Cedar Rapids, it's $75.
Yeah, no, ours is gonna be just like if it was a state ticket.
so, yeah,
What I'm asking,
No, I would,
do you know what I'm asking?
right.
whether or not the numbers move up, no, they would not move up, simply you strike that, so that.
So
you
6
start
through
with
10 is-
subsection 2,
6 through 10 is still 75.
bucks. Yep.
And we're not open to adjusting that? Instead of striking it, bumping it down?
So you're saying, so it's only a $25 ticket if it's 6 through 10?
8, you're great, 9, you're fine, state patrol, yeah.
But my concern with that would be, I would like to match what we're currently giving for tickets for
Yeah.
anything else. And that's what this would do. Because right now, we don't have a fee structure for a 0 through 5 over, which would be the $25 in this if we didn't eliminate that. So our ticket, if he pulls over somebody on a city street and gives them a municipal ticket, a city issued ticket, for speeding underneath 15 mile an hour, whatever, is it 10 to 15 mile an hour, it's $75. So that would match what the same ticket is through the camera.
Is that right, Danny?
It's
Does this fee structure,
15 over is 118 in that, trying to think of the categories here.
11 to 15 on here says 100, so it'd be 118 with court cost.
Yeah, 118 court costs, yeah,
Paper
but
cost.
surcharge court costs, so that'd be.
so it is 100, and then the 18 is
Yes.
other stuff?
Yep.
And it's very possible that the company that's proposed this to us, that we got in contract, is basing their revenue calculations on what's the likelihood of a ticket, and they know, we openly talked with them of not, that we would have a threshold somewhere in the 7, 8, 9, 10, and they said, that's fine, that's totally at our discretion. So it may have come into play from that standpoint. I would also like to see it matching what you would do if you were sitting with a car radar. So it's just confirming that we won't let the cameras give any injunction or any ticket unless it's at least 6, but it still could be higher.
And plus, we don't want the cameras to do 100% of her job. That's why the tickets come to me or Scott to approve them. So if Officer Creek is doing radar, and he stops somebody for speed, but the camera already got him 2. So we can eliminate 1. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm, that makes sense. So, back when I was learning how to drive, and I haven't kept up with it since then, if you were 20 over or more, isn't there some point at which, like, you can lose your license?
Yeah, they'd probably get a nice little letter from the DOT, probably put you on probation.
At what, 20?
20, I think 20 above.
20 and above?
Yeah.
So, how is that handled here?
Usually I would just write under state and let the DOT handle it. Or we can write you, say if you're going 26 over, we have a chart in our book that we will just keep on, the fine will get bigger.
Mhm.
I don't know if that goes to the DOT if the city writes it,
I would bet not, because it doesn't go to insurance.
yeah. Then we can just, if we feel like, just write under state, then the state can handle it.
It's a good question.
So if you had a serious issue,
Yeah, or
circumstance,
we can just,
you have the
or we
option
just
to write
charge
it
you
as a
with
state
careless
tax.
driving over 20 miles an hour too.
Over, with a camera you can?
But I don't know how the cameras would work. I think maybe that'll just go by our chart or
So,
how much,
So it wouldn't necessarily pick something up to send to the state.
no.
The good thing about it, however, is it would be passing through our hands that we would know who that is. Police
Yeah.
department know who that is, in case they wanna put a special watch on them or something like that.
And we could charge them with careless driving as well.
From a camera ticket.
Yes. Because we'll have a license plate.
I would assume.
I mean, if it's my kid driving my car and I'm getting the speeding ticket, then I would also be getting the careless driving ticket. But I didn't drive carelessly.
But then that's where you, if I explain it right, you have to write a letter.
To explain that I wasn't.
Yeah.
Explain it, yeah.
Well, even if I was driving, I'd probably write that letter. I mean, that's.
It wasn't me, I swear.
It's a bunch of monkey business. I don't know. Okay.
I would assume if you saw somebody going 20 mile an hour through one of those cameras, that your first inkling would be to go pay them a visit,
Yeah.
rather than, I mean, small town enough that it's on the books that we could do it, but kind of to that point.
If they're local.
Yeah, I was gonna say, aren't a big number of these people gonna be like from not here?
Yeah. I would say.
Probably.
Yeah. Because people here are gonna know that they're there, so they're not gonna speed as much. So-
The hope is it just stops everyone, but obviously we all know that's not gonna happen.
And we have separate, special signage has to go up before these are turned on, right?
Every entrance to the city, there'll be signage.
And
Speed monitored by cameras.
Yep.
the amount of traffic over on Schrock has diminished now that people are used to knowing what the actual detour, and sometimes they just stay on over on 21 rather than coming back to 63 and going into Waterloo.
So I have one more question, and I had one guy reach out to me about this. I thought this is actually a pretty fair thing to say. Is there any way that the public would have access to the driving, any violations of these speed limits by city employees? If the city is gonna know how the citizens drive, can the citizens know how the city drives?
You mean if it was a ticket issued to a city vehicle?
If Jake's out, yeah, speeding around, can we know that? And I'm not picking on Jake, I'm just saying anybody.
It would be a,
That's a city attorney question, I have no idea if that is public record or
I
not.
say, would that come into, would there be privacy laws with that? I don't know.
That'd be a head
I
of
mean,
question.
can I have a privacy law?
well,
We can't remember, if we're responding to a call, I mean.
No, of course,
you
of
know,
course.
I mean.
And I think
yeah.
the sentiment that the person was raising that I'd never thought of before
Yeah.
was,
I think, you know, maybe a soft way to handle that would be for me instructing Chief Banks, and Sergeant Wiersma, that if there's any tickets that come through for a current city employee, that I be advised of it.
I'm not saying in their private vehicle. I'm saying like in a, like.
In a city
Right,
in
in
a
a city vehicle,
Yeah.
yeah.
You can rack up all the speeding tickets you want privately.
we actually encourage it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my understanding that city license plates are excluded from the databases of these automatic cameras. That's my working understanding.
I do.
And
You can run them, but you
and
can
you
get
saw
them.
that comment in there, I think
Yeah.
everybody on the city should have to adhere to the same laws.
Which I agree with.
Including police and fire if they're not on emergencies.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
And school vehicles.
But I think they're exempt, I don't think they even appear in their database.
But it would have a picture of the plate, and we
Yeah.
would be able to find that plate and know what vehicle that plate goes to.
Correct.
At least if
If
it's on
you're
our
reviewing
own.
them, yeah.
Right, if he's
Yeah.
reviewing
But
it.
in other cities, that's not true, they're
Right.
just excluded.
Sure. They probably have such volume, they say, hey, we got enough going on.
Their excuse is they'd have to pay it, my comment is, go ahead and you pay it for them and then take it out of their pay.
Yeah.
Well, and on the other side of that too, I've been curious about that with dealer plates.
Ooh, that's a
Well,
good
the other
one.
places are registered to dealerships.
Right, but if you've got a paper tag on it, if you bought a new car,
Yep.
it's still got the paper tag, that
Well-
ticket should go to Bill Cowell Ford.
These will
Me,
be the
as
things we
being an
find out.
employee, as being an employee, if it will run our plates, I don't know if it would ticket the city of Hudson, but whoever's driving the vehicle should have to pay it out of their own pocket.
Agreed.
Yeah. And I think that'll be the case of, first time is a firm discussion from the mayor.
Keep everybody
And the
happy.
next time, that's it.
This is one other thing that came up in conversation, which I thought was hilarious. Danny, do you
You
know?
enjoying this consult meeting?
What-
My wife's an attorney, so I'm sitting here trying, and we do civil law, so I'm
And
all in this.
Go ahead and introduce yourself so we know.
Yeah, if you wanna introduce yourself, now's the time.
So I'm Glenn Keith, I'm running for Blackhawk County Supervisor, and,
His wife
Oh.
works in Heather's office too.
so I work with my wife, we run a law firm. We do family law, we don't do but yeah, this is interesting.
So, how much is it if I'm driving without a license or without it in transit on the back of my vehicle? Is it $120?
Are you speeding or just?
Just driving without a license plate?
Not really, because you have 30 days from the time of purchase, so a lot of people do. If you're stopped, basically just have to have the right documentation, title, and have it signed.
So I got a guy
Because
who
if it's not signed,
drives,
that's a fine as
he's
well.
driven for years with no back license plate because he said, the relatively few times I get pulled over for that cost me $120 a piece. And, which saves me, every time I speed through Cedar Rapids, it would be $75.
Oh,
So
for
he's
Pete's sake.
just rolling the dice going, I'll pay this fine instead of these fines. I was like, that's a pretty smart idea.
Pretty notes.
So anyway,
My politician hat has so many words to say right now, I'm not gonna say any of them.
Oh, man. I had a record
Anyway.
from today's training, but okay.
Could you get his name to Danny?
I was gonna say, you may see me without a license.
We'll put that one in the news.
We ready for a roll call on this one?
Did we make a motion?
Yes.
Oh, I do
Just
have
that-
one other serious question.
Okay.
In light of that, what I just said, can you write a ticket identifying a vehicle for, by any other means besides the license plate? Can you write a speed ticket if there's not a license plate on the
With a camera
vehicle?
or not camera?
With camera.
This camera's been kind of new, but I don't,
Will
I
it
don't,
take
I
a,
don't think, it'll take a picture of probably a blank license plate.
And it's the
Just
rear
the-
license plate. That's what
right.
we catch.
Yep.
but
other
you
states.
won't be able to see the paper one in the back window.
Or you won't be able to see, if I don't have one,
Yep.
you just can't say, well, he has a black Suburban, we know that's Reister, and we're gonna send him a ticket, even though my license plate's not there.
I believe if I can 100% identify, I would.
You
I-
can?
Yeah, I think, that's a Heather question, but if I can identify, because I know you, I know where you live at, I know what you drive every day, if I can testify that that is your vehicle, yeah.
Okay.
If there's an identifying mark or something in it that can prove to a
Right,
judge.
Yeah, that would stand up. So how do we fight these if we want? How do citizens fight these camera tickets?
I think that's in that email to Heather, how we supposed to do it. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, we ready for a roll call?
Yeah, I think we should let the citizens know how they can
Sure.
Yep.
Be a good
fight it,
communication.
or however you wanna
reason,
say
or,
that,
Contest.
contest it,
Contest.
yes.
I'll talk to
Because-
Heather tomorrow.
Yeah,
There you
because
go.
the first,
Appreciate that,
and,
Glenn.
and the first 30
Heads up,
days, I
Heather.
think, is going to be a warning only scenario, so we can make sure that whatever that communication is, we can include that.
Great.
I'll tap Sharon
Let's
Warner.
try a roll call now.
All right, Wyatt,
Aye.
Sewell,
Aye.
Buns,
Aye.
Reister.
No.
All right, motion carried 3-1.
Good discussion.
Good question.
Thanks for coming.
We on D, I hope?
Think so?
Yep.
Yes.
Item D, discussion action to approve the second reading of ordinance 874, an ordinance amending the code of ordinances of the city of Hudson, Iowa by amending provisions pertaining to alcoholic beverage control. I think this is just state.
Yes.
Moved. So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Reister,
Aye.
Wyatt,
Aye.
Sewell,
Aye.
Buns.
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0.
Item E, discussion action to approve the second reading of ordinance 875, an ordinance amending the code of ordinances of the city of Hudson, Iowa by amending provisions pertaining to all-terrain vehicles, and that's predominantly, again, matching the state.
Correct.
So moved?
Second.
Second.
Fourth.
Discussion? Roll call?
Buns,
Aye.
Sewell,
Aye.
Reister,
Aye.
Wyatt.
Aye.
All right, motion carried 4-0.
Item F, discussion action to approve resolution 2979, a resolution setting a public hearing to amend three-way stop on East Eldora, public hearing to be October 11th, 2022. This is just to set the public hearing.
Lori moved, I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Sewell,
Aye.
Wyatt,
Aye.
Buns,
Aye.
Reister.
Aye.
So Doc, you can come back on the 11th at the public hearing.
I can. Well, I understand it, but it's gonna be a pain for the
Oh,
straight
yeah.
through traffic.
Yeah, yeah. Hi, Jamal.
Hi, Jamal.
Item, did I have a vote on that yet?
Yes, motion carried 4-0.
Item G, discussion action to approve resolution 2980, resolution for approval of contract for the 7th Street reconstruction project for the city of Hudson, Iowa. This is mainly paperwork matching what we had the prior meeting.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
All right, Buns,
Aye.
Reister,
Aye.
Sewell,
Aye.
Wyatt.
Aye.
All right, motion carried 4-0.
Item H, discussion action to approve resolution 2981, a resolution setting a date for public hearing on an urban renewal plan amendment for Hudson Urban Renewal Area. This will be a public hearing on October 24th, and this is for an agreement to fund part of the Wapanka restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
so
with the
moved.
request that they put in.
Here, a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Wyatt.
Aye.
Buns.
Aye.
Sewell.
Aye.
Reister.
Aye.
All right, motion carried 4-0.
Item I, discussion action to approve resolution 2982, a resolution for approval of agreement with the Hudson Community School District for school resource officer subject to city attorney approval of the agreement. Before I get a motion for approval, so just a little history on this one. We had it at city council last meeting. We approved or proposed back to the school that we do it, what did we end up with, 60-40? We got back to them at,
Them 60, us 40? Is that what we said?
no, us 60, was it?
No, I think it was the
No,
other way.
we approved it subject to the review by the city attorney as well as the school putting in 40,000.
40,000. It wasn't a 60-40 split, right?
Okay, okay.
Wasn't that
Out
it?
of the 62.
I knew there was something
Yeah,
with that,
40
yeah.
to 62.
Yeah, so anyway, we sent it back to them, they had not had a formal motion at school board. Dr. Voss brought it up at the school board meeting last Wednesday. They had lengthy discussion on it, and what they came back is their counter proposal back, which is the way we have the resolution worded, is that the school would pick up 50% of the annual cost, city would pick up 50% of the annual cost. Another way to look at that is if 3 of the 12 months, the officer is fully city, there is 25% of the cost. If 75% of the cost is in the rest of the year and they are only picking up 25, so they're picking up, I had this figured out earlier. Basically, it's like sharing.
2/3 of the year.
City would pick up a third of that 9-month period, they pick up 2/3 of it. So they're getting their 50% by 2/3 of the 9 months.
Yep.
And nothing of the summer. So the city would be kicking in 25% of a year, basically.
Right.
Because we're gonna have 25% because we got an officer in the summer.
Yeah, he's gonna work
If
for
we're
us.
not
during the
picking,
summer.
if the school's not picking up 100% of that 9 months, we're picking up 1/3 of it. So basically, our costs will go up by that 25%.
What's the dollar amount on that?
Dollar amount
Out of
is
62, it'd be 31 instead of 40?
about
Yeah.
31, yeah,
Yeah.
instead of 40.
And it might be less depending on what the agreed wage is with benefits.
But roughly that.
Yeah, that
So
would,
we're committing not only to that assistance to the program, but we're also committing to, it'll mandate us basically taking one of the part-time officers, making them full-time, so that we've got full-time. Now, moving one of the part-timers to full-time, in theory, should help reduce overtime, because we've got those hours then, especially in the summer, if Chief Banks and Sergeant Wiersma can get the staffing, vacation times and everything else juggled around. I would like to see us approve it as is. It's a 1-year trial. I know it's gonna be more expensive to the city. It's gonna be more expensive to the school, but I think under the current situation, as the country is going, I'd like to try it on a 1-year basis, see how it goes. So I would be willing to have an offer. I think if the council is not willing to go into that agreement, then they should simply vote no to the resolution as opposed to doing another counter. Not to say you can't do another counter back then.
When you said it'll be more for the city and more for the school, I understand how it'll be more for the city, how will it be more for the school?
Because they're moving from that 2/3, or that 37% they were gonna pay up to 50%
Oh, I see there,
Yep.
from their original.
from their original scenario.
And ours was more of a 2/3, it's like 40 of 62,
Yeah.
so maybe 63%, something like that.
63, I think it was.
The one thing I will say is that we're gonna kick in about $31,000 for this, is approximately what it is. And if we go, 10%, even less of that, we're talking, it's a difference of $5 or $6 grand. I mean, it's not like we're gonna pay, we're not paying $100,000 more
No.
with this. And to not nickel and dime it, personally, I'm willing to, if it's, is it in here that it's a 1-year agreement?
Yep.
Okay.
What do you mean 10% equals
So
$5,000?
it would be $3,000, and even if we're more than 10%, in my head, the most that we would be. We would have agreed to like 25,000 and we're gonna pay 31,000. Does that make more sense where I was going with instead of 10%? I was trying to agree with it in my own name, and saying it out loud didn't work.
Do you understand?
We were
You're an
originally
accountant.
we were originally only gonna pay. We were originally gonna pay 25, what we had originally agreed to was we would pay 25%, they would pay 75%, right?
Is that what we originally agreed to?
Somewhere around there.
That was the first comeback.
That was the first shot.
That was the first shot. So that would be a difference, if we're talking $65,000, 75% of $65,000
It ended
is,
up being like 40,
16,250.
yeah.
is the 25%,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And then we went back and said we'd be willing to go up to like 30 or 35%, right? Which was that number that we threw out in the last one. So that we're bumping up to about 23,000, and we're agreeing to 31,000 now. So it's only a difference of like $7,000 or $8,000 that we're looking at here.
Okay.
So without nickel and diming it to death, for a 1-year thing, I am willing to put in an extra $7,000
Yep.
to get to this agreement, personally,
You
on
said-
a 1-year trial.
Yeah, you said 5 and
I know.
10%, so I wasn't understanding. That's why I
No.
was asking for clarity on.
You're fine,
You meant 7,000
yes,
in whatever that percentage represents.
right.
Budget-wise, where are we at with this?
Probably amend my budget for it.
We'll have to amend the budget anyway, but depending on what it comes back at, there was like 31,000 that was unfunded, but that the ability to take it out of local option or some other fund is
So
very
option
doable.
reserve is still-
Or not funding reserves completely,
Or not funding reserves.
because
Yeah.
that's still in that budget as well.
Mhm.
Now, I do wanna kinda go on record here in saying that we set a budget in February and March, hopefully not like some other communities that don't set budgets at all apparently. Saying that this is what we're gonna spend, so I think we owe it to the people to try to spend as close to those numbers as we can,
Agreed.
and not just consistently amend, just to pull money out of different budgets. But in this case, I mean, like I said, if we have to take it out of what's being funded for reserves, rather than pulling it from a different spot, if there's a spot legally we can do it, fine, but I personally would like to see us try to do that as the least amount of
Keep the
possible.
public safety within the public safety.
Correct.
So in the past, like, a lot of the reserves have been for purchasing of new vehicles and stuff, but is that built into the budget now already? So reserves isn't used for that, so we're not,
I like to see
Fighting.
the speed camera.
The
money,
speed
especially-
camera,
That will go back into my budget too, reserves, and I like to put it back in the community if we keep the resource officer going.
So, if the school wasn't interested in this at all, would we hire an additional halftime cop?
That's something I have to come back to you guys on, I mean, I don't think so.
No.
I mean, eventually down the road, 5, 10 years down the road, or 3 years down the road, maybe as we grow, but
So am I misunderstanding that answer to mean we don't need a halftime cop? I guess I'm trying to figure out so if we don't need a halftime cop, then why are we, help me understand are we just doing that to throw the school a bone? Or,
It's from a standpoint of, they would not be willing or fiscally responsible
Able.
to put a full-time police officer on, because what do they do with them for 3 months out of the year?
Right.
Okay? So that would be a challenge from that. So for them to be able to afford to have a resource officer up there full-time, it really takes us to provide that body.
Even though we don't really need that body.
Correct. So you might say from that standpoint, that's the extra, 20,000, 15,000 that we're throwing into this, is the hours that we don't need.
Remember, we
Or help.
gotta replace, Jamal's here, will be our resource officer, if approved. We have to replace his hours because he's gonna be up there full time. If we don't, then that's my overtime, is just gonna go sky high.
That's what I was just gonna say too. It does eliminate, doesn't eliminate. In the summer, it should allow us to bring the overtime costs down, because obviously that's the time that most people take vacations. And that's when they spread thin, so it should allow him to lessen overtime costs to the city, because we will have that extra body during that summer.
So when you said our cost is gonna be 31,000-ish, by the way, does that include everything? Like the
Yeah,
union,
that's-
whatever, and the benefits and, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, and then, but then you said 15 to 20. We throwing in that extra 15 to
would be
20?
that fourth of those,
That was included in the 31, right?
of the 9 months that Jamal would be up there.
Yeah,
We basically are paying for a third of his time with getting nothing. That third is about
I see what you're saying.
$15,000 of that total cost of the body.
But surely we can look at it too, it's not that we're not getting anything, because by him working at the school, we're hoping to catch some of the stuff that comes through school that you would be sending an officer there anyway for. You know what I mean? Now, on the other side of this, I would love to see you, and I know there's a class going on that's gonna help with this, I don't know if we've already missed that deadline,
Nope,
but.
it's coming up.
But, there's some of those things that I believe are counseling issues as well, and I think that'll hopefully be involved in some of that schooling, as far as working with those kids, to be able to cut off some things that could involve an officer later. So it's not that he's not working,
Right.
Obviously, he's just working at a different desk at that time frame. And I also would assume, and I'm gonna make this assumption, I'm gonna make it on record, because the school board can do whatever they wish to, but if there is a major incident in this community, they're not gonna lock him in that building and say, you can't go help. You know what I mean? That if there's like a huge accident or a tornado or something, not only is he gonna be there, but we do have someone else within the community then that could come and assist if,
Is there no such thing as a school hiring an officer for just 9 months? That's not a thing?
The question would be, what person would you, is it technically possible? Sure.
they hire teachers for
But
9
that
months.
person would probably need a job for those other 3 months somewhere else, like most school teachers have.
Yeah.
It'd be a challenge. The other thing that I see of it, we've been challenged in the past when we've had officers leave. I hope no officers leave, because the crew we've got, I like the crew.
Yeah.
But in the instance where an officer were to leave, we are always gonna go through time finding. At least this way, during that summer months, theoretically, we've got that extra body to help cover some of those shortages. Whether that comes into play, I don't know. Just another what if. So, can I get a motion to it,
I'll make the motion to approve it.
as written on the resolution? Correct?
And
Which
it
is a
is,
50% sharing.
it is a 50% share, it's not a dollar.
Timing to be worked out with the school, and plus we have to have Heather review the contract
Yep,
to make sure.
yeah, Heather will have to review it again.
Have I got a second?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
I would vote yes if we were paying a smaller percentage, and so I'm gonna vote no, but that's why. It's not because I disagree with it in principle,
Yep.
I disagree with the split.
Roll call.
Wyatt,
Aye.
Sewell,
Aye.
Reister,
No.
Buttons.
Aye.
All right, motion carried 3-1.
I was right there with you until I thought about it with $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000, so then that's the only reason I am okay with going with it now.
So
But I
So
appreciate that.
Chief, you and Jamal can roll on and let Dr. Voss know, and hopefully
We're at 50%, right?
Correct.
50%,
50%, okay,
yep, which is what he put in writing back to us.
okay.
Yeah.
Heather will have to approve it, or have to review it and go through all of that again, but I'll let her know.
And forward.
Or Glenn can let her know in the morning.
I'll send it to her again.
If she's at work, I don't see her in Belleville.
Okay, informational items, there's a few of them in there. Reminder items, regular scheduled meetings held at council chambers except for the library board. Public Works, October 12th at 7 a.m. Mayor's Task Force, October 18th at 5 p.m. Personnel Admin, October 24th at 4:45 p.m. Public Safety, October 27th, 4 p.m. Next council meetings, Tuesday, October 11th, which is a change from the Monday.
Correct.
It's a
And I will
Tuesday.
not be here for that one.
Okay.
And Monday, October 24th at 2022 at 6 p.m. And before we go into the next session, we're going to be going into closed session, so if there's anything else anybody wanted to mention before we go into closed session, you got a shot right now. All right.
Thanks,
So,
y'all.
Move to adjourn.
Good to see you,
Move to go
Jamal.
into closed session.
I need a motion to go into need a motion to enter closed session pursuant to
See you Friday.
Iowa Code 21.5, 1 and J, to discuss the purchase or sale of particular real estate only where premature disclosure could be reasonably expected to increase the price of the governmental body would have to pay for that property or reduce the price the government body would receive for that property. The minutes and the audio recording of a session closed under this paragraph shall be available for public examination when the transaction discussed is completed.
I'm moving for it, yep. And voting for it.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, just a second.